oldest nephew, I drew the short straw, and I was supposed to lead this, but this is really a memory for all of us. First of all, I just want to welcome all of you. Thank you for coming on behalf of the Veronica family, on behalf of those that couldn't make it today, so my own mom, Susan, and also for Robin and Judy, and Jill, of course, is here, and for all the nieces, nephews, grand nieces and nephews. Mark was a special person to all of us, and I think you'd be happy to see it took 2 years to get this together. He never did anything quickly, so he would be very happy to know this took a time, and we thought it through, but thank you for making the time. So we just wanted to make this a time that he would have enjoyed too, hearing memories, our memories of him. So I'll start, and then anybody that wants to share something, you can either stay seated, you can come up here, you can sing a song, you can do whatever is important to you. If it comes in, if you just want to be there, be here, your presence is enough, I'm sure, for him as well. I think Mark would have been quiet. But so I'll start off. One of my favorite memories is 2013. I came to understand Uncle Mark's, I wouldn't say fascination, obsession with the Red Sox. I came, and that was the year, of course, that they won the World Series. But I came and I spent a week up here alone with Mark. It was my only time, an entire week, alone with him. And we watched the baseball. And he wasn't the greatest of cooks, I must say. I ended up doing like whatever was there to put it together, but we had such a great time, and he explained baseball to me. And he had just a great passion for it. He would explain every pitcher, he'd explain every move and why they're doing this and that. And I don't know, it just brought to me, like, this was what Mark was for me. He was an uncle that took the time to be with his nieces and nephews. I think he loved us, each one of us in our own way. He knew what each one of us enjoyed. He never forced anything on us. He would always just invite, and that's what I loved about Mark. He was just, yes, you knew what he was thinking too. If you did something not the way he thought it should be done, he would let you know that too. But when he came into one of his passions, what a joy to be with Uncle Mark. I always had fun since I was a little boy with the quarters in his car. I thought he was the richest man alive. And we would play video games, and then, yeah, he was just a great uncle, and I miss him. I miss Maine. Without him, there's a hole here, but I know that he'll live on in our memories, in our love for being here, for being up here, for being in this beautiful land that he loved so much. But for the people, he loved us. He loved his family. He loved his friends. So, Mark, I miss you, and I love you. So anyone that wants to share? Dad, again, you don't have to come up here, but if you want to preach, you can.
It'd be good if you could, because the camera will catch it.
Oh, good.
Oh,
that's a good idea.
Way over there.
We have a zoom lens.
What I remember most about Mark is his love for birds. He knew more about birds than anybody else, any amateur that I've ever come across. When he was up there and we were sitting on the front porch, he would see the warblers going through the trees, and he could tell them from their songs. And he would see them and say, "Oh, that's a black, cheap, green warbler or something." I'd never seen anybody so expert with identifying them. And on one of the occasions where I was up here for about a week with him on my own, he said that he had read that there's a new warbler passing through the area, and you should go over to Camden to look for it. It was a chestnut-sided warbler, and it isn't native to this area. But he'd heard about it, and he wanted to go look for it, and he invited me along. So we went over, we climbed some hills over near Camden, and he actually found this thing. He found this chestnut-sided warbler. I'd never seen it before. He hadn't. But there we were, watching this beautiful bird, hopping around the trees in exactly the location where he had read that it would be. And as if that wasn't good enough, so that was early June 2012. So I went home, and after a couple of weeks, Mark came down to our house because we had a wedding happening at the end of June with Rebecca. So Mark came down for that, and with him, he brought a clipping from the Boston Globe. It's called Birding with Don Reimer. A picture of a chestnut, an article about the chestnut-sided warbler. This is the bird that Mark had found out enough about to be interested, and he and I had actually seen it. And then he noticed, this is dated June 21, a couple of days after I'd been there. He noticed that they wrote an article about it in the Boston Globe. It was interesting enough that even the Bostonians wanted to hear about it. And Mark brought this down to, he cut this out and brought it to me in Elkton. This is the memory I've kept of Mark ever since, 13 years ago. The chestnut-sided warbler. So there were other occasions when we went looking for birds in strange places that he knew there was a nature refuge somewhere along the road between Friendship and Waldoboro. I don't know how we found out about these strange places, but we walk around among the trees and we get down near some water, and he said, "This is the place. This is the nature preserve." Yeah, and then we'd see some unusual birds, and he always knew where to go to find them. I really love that about Mark because birds have been a big part of my life since I was in high school, and he obviously loved them. And he could identify a lot more birds than I could. That's one of the things I have the fondest memory about Mark is talking about birds. All the subjects he could talk about. He was a very well-informed individual over a broad array of topics, and just to go through the books that are on his bookshelves, it's an unbelievable experience of how broad his interests were in all kinds of information. So I'm happy to be here today to celebrate the memorial, and I would like to read a psalm that I also read when Uncle Doug is over here, buried over here. He died. This was the psalm that I used to read over Uncle Doug, and I'd like to read it for Mark. Psalm 121. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence does my help come? My help comes. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this day forth until evermore. May God have mercy on Mark's son.
I'm just sneaking off the cuff, so hopefully this will go well. Yeah, so he was my brother, my older brother. And the thing I can think most about him is that he connected us in such a great way. I would have not known Razor Ken without Mark. And he was close to all of my friends. We had a lot of fun together. Went to concerts. He gave me my love for the Rolling Stones. And actually Razor Ken and Mark and I went to the Rolling Stones. He also took me to Red Sox games, and as you were saying, the wealth of knowledge sitting next to him in a Red Sox game was amazing. Yeah, and being at the cottage playing Happy Fun Ball late at night with glow in the dark super balls. I mean, he was a big part of my growing up and my adulthood. I think he probably didn't like me as much when I was his little bratty little sister. But he came to like me when I was in high school and college. And we shared a passion for Halloween. We did a lot of costumes together. Yeah, so a huge part of my life, and I'm grateful for everyone who he brought together, and I'm grateful for family loving him as much as they did. Thank you. And this is Poochie. He's going in the hole with Mark.
So, as his eldest niece, we got to enjoy Mark as an uncle, but then also as the uncle of our kids, bringing our kids up, which was amazing, because he really loved when we would show up. Maybe not the whole time we were there. We were a little bit, we took up a lot of space. We're messy. We're noisy. But he just loved when we would show up with our 4 kids. One by one. We first brought Andrew when he was a baby, and so he has seen my family grow. And one of the most special things that he did for our kids, besides the fact that he always went to the dump and found some new little Lego for Isaac and Andrew to play with when they got here. He'd always bring out something special that he had just found, and it would be out on the table ready for them to play. But this last time, 2 years ago, when we arrived, he had something special planned for our 2 boys. He had 2 original pocket watches that he had restored from like the 1800s, 2 of our ancestors from way back, and he had them taken to a watchmaker down near Dad maybe 10 years ago. So he didn't do anything in a rush, right? He wanted these pocket watches to actually work, so he took them to a watchmaker, made sure that all the inner parts worked again, made sure that they could wind them up, made sure they kept time. And not only that, after he had that, 5 years later, he still wasn't ready to give it to them. He had to go and research around the town of where each of these men lived. Is that a red-tailed hawk?
Yeah, red-tailed hawk.
Red-tailed hawk.
Be nice
Thank
if
you
a chestnut
for
would be.
Yeah.
He had to go around, because they were from Waldoboro. He wanted to go to the Waldoboro Historical Society to figure out the history of each of these men who had owned the pocket watch, the original from 1800s. So that last day before we left, we didn't know it was going to be the last time we saw him. He took us on a tour of the graveyards to find their gravestone, to find the house where they lived. And of course it was pouring rain. It was not very much fun, and we didn't know Mark was so sick, but he trudged with his duck boots around with us through the graveyard, the old German graveyard over there, finding the stones where each of these men were buried. Drove us by the house that he thought they lived in. He'd done all this research to find which street was it on. We ended up here, so we could put flowers at his parents' and his grandparents' graves. And then we went back to the house. My boys still didn't even know what this was all about. And we went back to the house, sat down at the table, and he said, after dinner, he said, no, it has to be after dinner. Okay, we'll eat dinner. And after dinner, he said, I have something special I want to give you boys. And then he took each one out, and he explained who each man was that had owned it, the original owner, that it had been passed down from generations, and he wanted one for Isaac and one for Andrew. And it was so incredible. We never knew that was going to be the last day we saw him. And he gave my boys a lasting memory of Mark. That's something, a treasure, a family treasure, that's from, the beginning of our family at Hubby's here in Waldoboro. So that's the kind of man Mark was. He was deeply connected to family from the past, going to the graves every year. We'd bring flowers for his parents, for his grandparents. We would go see the old graveyard. He's taken us there a few times. His ancestors. So he's deeply connected to family, and he wanted the family today to not forget where we came from. So I'll always thank Mark for that. He knew all the history. He could just say it to us, and I wish I'd recorded him saying it because I can't remember any of it. I have to ask him every summer to say again. So I want to thank Mark for helping us feel rooted and we belong here because of Mark. He helped us connect here. So I just want to thank Mark for that. And I miss him. Maine's not the same without him.
I can brief. I'm merely his nephew-in-law, if that's a thing. And maybe I should testify to the fact that sometimes Mark did do things in a hurry. So there was one year I got it into my head that the best place in the world to play clawhammer banjo is on the front porch of the cottage. So I lugged my banjo from San Antonio to Friendship, Maine, and I just banged away in that thing. And his reaction was like the opposite to my children and my wife. He loved it. He would sit and listen to me hitting all the wrong notes, and he loved it. So that was great. But here's the thing: the next year, when we were coming up, I had no way of bringing the banjo with me. And when I arrived, he decided that what was needed now was a banjo. And so he took me up to Wallace's, and one of the people who works there, he knew, had a whole set of banjos. And he spoke to him and asked him if I could take a banjo for a week or for however long we were staying. So you know, so sometimes he did things fast. The real reason I'm saying this is that it was emblematic of Mark's subtle, quiet, abiding kindness. He would do things for people knowing that they would be meaningful for them. And without any fuss, he would do that. And I was touched by that. And I think he set a wonderful example. So, yeah. I knew him for about 19 or 20 years. And, yeah, I miss him. His was a big presence. So, yeah. Lord of mercy on him.
I could say one thing, just you were his neighbor, and he's very quiet and hard to get to know, you know. But I know he just came alive when you guys came to visit. He seemed like so lively and young, and I just remember I was always sad when you left because I'd hear, "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you," and I was like, they're leaving. But he was so proud of all of you, and I loved hearing those games next door, and it was just, and we would come up in odd times during the year, like in the dead of winter, and I was always so glad when I saw his car. It was just so nice to have his company, quiet and sweet. Thank you.
So as the second sister, I didn't come up as often as Wendy did. Anyway, the one thing I'll remember about Mark is we always made everything fun. So if we made the energy, took the time to come up, we were going to have a good time with Uncle Mark. And there was one summer, I think it was in our college year, that he somehow convinced us. So we have a cottage near the Pickerings. It's a labor of love. It is a house that is very old. And he roped us into taking off lead paint for the summer, like 2 weeks. He's like, "It's gonna be fun. we're gonna have snacks, and you're gonna have like a heat mask on your face. It's gonna be 90 degrees, and I'm gonna be melting lead paint off while you scrape it. And we were like, we are there. Anyway, so we're like, sign me up. Grandma made us quiches. You know, she made it fun. And then the one thing I remember is that he had his music, like, so all day long he would just be playing. His boombox was out, and he always taught us something new about music. To your point of like younger and getting younger because of us, I feel like he was way cooler. The Stones, we never listened to Stones growing up, and even like Garbage and these great new bands. He's like, you gotta hear this tape, and it's new. And anyway, so he introduced us to that, and it made even the hottest mundane summer, because like I'm not really into manual labor. It's not really my thing. But we had the best time. That's one of my favorite memories of him. And no matter what it was, whenever you came up, even if you didn't see him for 10 years, he would just, like to your point, greet you with a big hug and just kind of take you where you were, and then somehow make everything funny, and see the humor in it, and then twist it and turn it again, and then that would be the joke of the weekend. So that's what I always remember about him. And then now being an aunt myself, like, he kind of taught me how to not take yourself too seriously and spend time with your nieces and nephews, because you never know how long you have, right? So, and what I will miss most is the great mean send-off, which I don't know where it all started, but it's a great big goodbye going down the lane, and
I love you.
I love you, and that's
Probably
the
don't love
last.
that.
I don't know where it started. I don't know if the Veronica started, if you did it growing up.
Might have been a Brooklyn thing, right?
Oh, was it yours?
Oh,
Did
was it
you
your
start
day?
it?
Well, thank you, Grace and
Oh,
Ken,
thank
for
you.
starting, because that became a tradition that we did.
The horn all the way
Yeah.
down the road, and all the way down to Walker.
One last goodbye, you'd hear
Yes.
Well,
We
yeah,
get to do
but
it
it's
in
just
Elkton
warms
after
your heart, and that to me is what this feels like. You know, the last echo of.
Should we
a
do it
goodbye.
going down the hill?
Yeah.
So anyway, I miss him greatly. Like I said, I didn't get up here enough, as much as I should have. But I do love him, and so glad that Jill was able to make it, and we're still here for each other to carry on his memory and keep Maine alive, in whatever capacity that looks like moving forward. So anyway. Oh yeah. Oh yes. I'm sorry.
Scraping song.
Oh yeah. And then the clincher of that from that summer, we also had we created a song, a theme song to the tune of "Up on the Rooftop" with good old Nick was up on the rooftop, scrape, scrape, scrape. Out jumps dear old Uncle Mark. I don't remember the rest. We sang it all summer.
The lead impacted you.
And we had skits. We had skits and snacks and music, and what else could you want? And I haven't done any lead paint scraping, so I'm not open for business. I don't even know how much help we actually were, but we had fun.
I want to say the same sort of thing, like enjoying the present moment. I feel like he really lived the present moment, and it's interesting to hear how different he was as well. Always loving of us as nieces and nephews and grandnieces and grandnephews. He loved, spending time with everyone. So that's my earliest memory. Is he the one who gave us the toboggan when we were little?
He did.
Too?
There's
Yeah.
a picture
Christmas
of it.
'78.
Yeah, so that, always up for adventures, and then a high quality toboggan also. We couldn't use it much in Elkton, Maryland, but and then just so enjoying the present moment, just living, and like you were saying too, in terms of like taking a funny story, squirrels, and then homing squirrels, and then just building off of that around an entire weekend. Really creative, and you would just be crying. You were laughing so hard. He and Judy also like spinning off of each other, the stories. But always just felt so supported. We've had all sorts of interesting life paths, some of us siblings, and he just took us where we were, like you were saying too. It's very similar sort of line here. Each time, like if I am uber religious one stage, like he's like, that's fine, like never commenting on it. And then when I was like, I think I'm thinking about leaving like that particular very religious path, and he's like, well, are you happy with that? Like, how did you come to that decision? Having this amazing conversation, I think it was before Angela's wedding. So he and, would always come to the weddings too. And so having a conversation, him just saying like, are you okay with that? How do you feel about that? He's like, you seem at peace. just this side conversation right before the wedding. It's just amazing that he knew each one of us. Like he knew each of his. He knew Andrew really well, Isaac really well, Isabella really well, Sarah really well, and then all of us too. What our interests were. Like I remember coming up, and he would have stored books that he got, like on dinosaurs for Peter when he was in his dinosaur phase. And a wealth of knowledge, so like he could identify any sort of bird or sports knowledge. This connection, I'm just mimicking all the things that you have said too. And one of my favorite memories would have been he so valued like time with us too, and then time with our grandmother. Really valued that. So I remember him coming down to our house in Elkton when Dad's dad was over from Ireland, so he came over twice from Ireland, my grandfather. And I remember like they were going to come, and he had already introduced us to Pygmania. So yeah, one of his specialties. Maybe you introduced that to him. Are you the ones who introduced it to him? And it was a wild time. And I remember he was about to arrive, and we were explaining to our Irish grandpa, we're like, it's the funnest game ever. There's like leaning jowlers and he's like, what are they talking about? And I was like, hey, get to the end, you get to say, Sue-E, it's so fun. You're just going to love it. And so, needless to say, our Irish grandpa did not love it as much as we thought he would. But just a connector, like you were saying, I think, too. Like, he connected all of us, and his love for family, and just enjoying the present moment, where we're at, as we are, and accepting us as we are, too. And then protector of the nieces and nephews, too. So one last story. At I think it was Becca's wedding, or Angie's wedding, he was sitting in a row, and Andrew and Isabella were there, and maybe Isaac at that stage. I don't know how old you were at that stage, 5, and maybe Isabella was 3. And so he was sitting right next to Andrew, and then Isabella, and Isabella's like poking Andrew. No one else saw it, but Mark did. And he like turned to Andrew, and he's like, would you like to sit on this side of me? And he's like, please. So just a protector, really kind, really loving of us as family in his Mark way. So I'm really thankful to have been loved by him. And then, like you said as well, to teach me how to love others. And the importance of remembering the past and calling that to mind. Because that gift of acknowledgement, like this is just amazing. Like, it's a beautiful day. And that gift of acknowledgement is life-giving. And it's what allows the memory of a person to live on. We live on in the remembering, and then in the speaking, and then the telling the stories, which is what he did as well too, keeping us connected. So I'm glad to have been loved by Mark, and I'm glad that we all got the chance to love Mark too.
I'm Grace, of the Grace and Ken. Mark was my brother. He married my sister. They were only married 6 months. They went out together for 7 years. And made a mistake of getting married, But I loved him like a brother. And even though Nancy wasn't around anymore, we always had Mark. And he loved my kids. My kid, I don't know if you were at their wedding. That was the only little baby at that wedding. So that was Ray, and he's 43 now. And Kristen is my daughter. She couldn't be here today, and neither could Ray. He's in London now. But he loved them. And he loved Lily, too, my granddaughter. We got to meet John, my grandson, for that 1 week we were up. Well, the whole family was up. He was so close to us. And he was good to the kids. The Mark Museum would come out, and when the kids came up with the Mark Museum, and so the kids would beeping the horn and screaming, I love you, and goodbye, going down the road, going down the rocks. We always went down the rocks first thing.
He didn't like the fires we had down there, but he put up with them. But we cleaned out the woods quite a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna miss him so much. So, Mark, I love you. You get to see Nancy when you get up there. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I'm Mark's oldest grand nephew, if you can call it that. But we always just called him Uncle Mark. And anyway, I guess I was his nephew in another kind of way. When I was thinking about it, one of the first things I think of when I think of Uncle Mark was as other people have said, just how funny he was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a distinct memory. I don't know what the event was at 404, but he was down there where my grandparents lived, and I remember him telling a joke. He was with Judy, of course, and he was telling a joke about one of his classmates, and I don't even remember what he was doing. He was kind of a dishonest classmate, I think, and he said he's lucky nobody called him Sneaky Pete. And I just remember laughing at that, and I guess it must have been funnier at the time, but it was just him and Judy like bouncing off of each other, and like the jokes were getting funnier and funnier. I remember when we were up in Maine, they introduced the idea to us of sending this like wind up Scooby-Doo mystery machine thing up this little ramp to try and get it across the gap in the table, and the two of them called it Scooby-Doo physics. And it worked about half the time. Most of the time it fell apart. Yeah. Also, other memories I have of him. A few summers ago, I think it was 3. He heard that I was getting into classical music, and I'd gotten out 2 big books of classical music from the library just to look at him and refer to him. And I didn't know this about him. I mean, so many people have said this already, but just his vast store of knowledge. Like, who would have known that Uncle Mark would have known that much about classical music? I was amazed. I talked to him like a full hour about classical music into the night. Everyone else went to bed. I was just sitting there on that not very comfortable couch in the cottage, talking to him, like shifting, trying to find a comfortable position. But yeah, those were some of the best memories I had with him. When I got a bit older, he could come to the piano concert 2 years ago, and I remember no one was expecting that he would turn up, and yet in the back, just sitting alone in the middle of the 100 people, like who would have thought that he'd come to something like that? He was just sitting there alone in the back, enjoying it. And Grandpa always finds it amazing how there's a recording of that performance, and at the end the camera swivels, and for a split second you can see Mark in the back of the community house, just quietly clapping there all by himself. So I'm really gonna miss him. He was inseparable for so many years from coming to the cottage. Just there was no cottage without him. So may he rest in peace.
I have another niece. There are a lot of us. But I am my birthday is the day after Mark's, and so all of my my earliest birthday memories are sitting on his lap and blowing out candles together on the cake with his beard like scruffing my face. But we always shared that together, which was really nice. And I was sharing with my younger sister who couldn't be here that even our memories of Mark are very different than our older siblings' memories of Mark. And no one could help me remember the name Galunka for the mysterious Bigfoot-ish creature that was in the woods that no one else knew about. But Laura and I were like terrified of going at night because anytime there was a noise outside, Uncle Mark would say, "It's the Galunka." Whatever. So, but only we knew
never
that.
heard
Only
that,
us
yeah.
had the pleasure of that terrifying memory. But,
I didn't know I had that memory.
okay. So he saved it for some of
The youngest.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, always made things fun. He was always up for a game of Tripoli or Pygmania. And happy to sit down and do a crossword puzzle with you and find out what you're doing with your life. So yeah, him not being a part of Maine is such a huge loss. But a lot of really happy, fun memories with him, which I'm really grateful for. And I will miss my almost birthday buddy, but my birthday buddy. I always think of him the day before and that special time together. So we'll miss you, Mark. May you rest in peace.
So thank you. There's always sadness in this moment, but I think the joy of the memories will live on, and I think Mark would have loved this. Just gathering, loving him, remembering him, and now we're going to place his remains in the earth, and I hope this is something that will come back, and that's what he would want too, for us to come back and remember at where he is. And it's great that he's now going to rest also with his mom, who we know he loved very much, and she loved him very much, and they were just great together. So as was pointed out, that this is the exact same day that she was buried here 10 years ago, June 30th, 2015. So I think it's apropos that we're celebrating both of them today. So we're gonna place the urn into the earth. We'll have a little prayer, and then everyone can take a flower, and we can take our time of placing the flower in the earth, and just whatever memory you want, and to thank him in your heart, and that we'll always remain together. I'm sure he wouldn't mind a little holy water. He'll be fine with that. Just a little. Just a little. He'll be fine. He'll chuckle. He's gonna chuckle. Into your hands, O Lord, we commend our brother Mark, the sure and certain hope that together we will all meet again. We give you thanks for the blessings which you bestowed upon him in this life. They are signs to us of goodness, of family, and the gift that he brought to this earth. Turn toward us, listen to our prayers, open the gates of paradise to your servant. And as he rests here, may we be comforted in the fact that we were given the gift of Mark, that his memory, his love, his connectedness will live on through us. Give us the comfort that we need, whether it be by faith, by family, by love, whatever it is that we need to keep on going. May we have that, and may we one day see Mark again, and thank God for all the blessings that he has given us in our family. Amen.
Amen.
Is it supposed to go into the?
Yeah, it's fine.
Sarah and Abby, stand up there and get it.
I think you have enough.
you all for being here today. Your presence and support for each other. Continue stories of Mark as you go on to have some refreshments. And laugh often, and just remember, the more we share with each other, the more we keep him present in our hearts and in our spirit. So God bless you all. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I was wondering whether we can end with just one verse of a hymn, Praise God, from whom all blessings flow.
Sure.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, the creatures cheerfully know. Praise Him, the heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy